Okay, so there's a verse in the Bible in Hebrews 13, verse 2, that says, "Do not forget or neglect or refuse to extend hospitality to strangers, in the brotherhood, being friendly, cordial, and gracious, sharing the comforts of your home and doing your part generously. For though it's some have entertained angels without knowing it." So I always like to think about this passage or this verse when I'm thinking about how we treat other people. I mean, we have the golden rule, of course, and all these other things that I think we're very well aware of. Most of us have some kind of idea of how we're to treat each other. Whether we do it that way or not is another thing. I was in prayer a few moments ago, and one of the things that crossed my mind is something that crosses my mind a lot. The people that come into our lives who are, I have to be careful how I say this, but I believe you'll understand, and I don't believe I'm speaking in error when I say this. The people who come into our lives that are destined to take us away from our purpose, that are destined to maybe even ruin our purpose, what would the consequences be for that? When you are a child of God, and when you have His hand on you for something, and when people come through your path that are designated to keep you off the path, to keep you away from doing what you're supposed to be doing, what is the penalty for doing something to manipulate one's calling and purpose with God? Now I think back about the passage about Elijah. Now Elijah's story, this particular story, is the one I refer to all the time, because it is, in some ways it's outrageous, but in many ways it makes sense. It's a firm example of the wrath of God. There were some kids, basically, children, if you will, who were of age. These were young men, basically. And they made fun of Elijah. And they were picking on him because he was bald, basically. They were picking on him. The King James Version says, "Go up, you bald head. Go up, ye bald head," or something like that, you know. Now, how that translates, either way, it's insulting. You're picking on the man's bald head. Elijah turned around and said, "Cursed, be cursed." Now, I'd have to go look at the passage. I don't want to misquote. But he basically cursed them. And these bears, she-bears specifically, I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're more vicious. I don't know. But anyway, some bears came out of the woods and tore these guys to shreds, pretty much. You also have a passage that says, "Touch not my anointed. Do my prophets no harm." Again, what is the penalty for people coming into the picture to dismantle a person's purpose in God? What is the penalty for a person to come along and manipulate or damage a person's purpose in God? knowing that this life is only a certain given amount of time, and we only have a certain amount of time to do our purpose here. And God, for I believe everyone has a purpose. But I do believe for some it is more clear than others. And for some, I believe it is more intense than others. I have always believed there's a difference between being called and chosen. Called, you have a choice whether you pick up the phone or not, basically. Chosen, in my personal opinion, is you don't really have much of a say in this. God's hand is on you. His mark is on you. There's no escape from that purpose. I think of Lester Sumrall, who told his testimony of when he was on his deathbed at 17, seeing a casket and a Bible, and the Lord said, choose. Okay, I'm going to choose the Bible. Sure, I'll preach. Okay, that's what you want me to do? Sounds a lot better than a casket, right? My point is, some people are chosen, some people are called. I do believe certain ones that are chosen, if a person comes along and tries to dismantle that purpose, tries to interfere with that purpose, I do believe there's consequences for that. And I believe that there's biblical proof of that. And if you study Elijah, if you study different other parts of the Bible, and if you study history, I do believe that there is penalty for this. So, to go a step further, for those of us who know we're chosen, we know God has his mark on us. What is our responsibility with this? What is our responsibility with this? Because it does leave us with a very high responsibility, because the truth is, most of the time, I believe, and in my experience and from what I've seen, we know when the enemy is coming for us or into us or dealing with us in a way to take us off guard or take us off track. What is our responsibility with that? And for the people that are involved, the people that the enemy uses to do this, what is our responsibility to them? Number one, I don't care who it is. One of our main responsibilities is always to pray and intercede for those people. Because think about Jesus on the cross. He said, forgive them, Lord, they don't know what they're doing. Forgive them, Lord, they don't know what they're doing. That alone is the epitome of all of this. Okay? These people come along, they don't know they're being used by the enemy, but they're being used because they don't know any better. So, with that, I don't know where to go with this. So that is where I ask you, the viewer, to give me your feedback on this. Tell me what you think. Because obviously the wrath of God is real. Obviously the punishment of God is real. And obviously these things are real, as I have mentioned. What do we do with this? What do we do with it? And I guess my word of warning for those around me, because I have been sucked into stuff before. I've watched people around me who I know have a calling and a chosen mark on their life. I've watched people get sucked into stuff, pulled away, lured away, damaged even. What is the penalty for that? For those that are being used as vessels to carry out these evil works, what are the penalties for that? And I think we know. It's not good. It's not great. It's ugly. What do we pray for? Do we pray, Lord, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing? What do we do? And I could give you a word of warning all day long, but here's the thing. How many words of warning was I given? I know I'm not the only one to experience it. I know there's others who have felt deeply in their heart that they were chosen by God for a purpose. And something, someone came along to pull you away from that purpose. Subtle, maybe, but to pull you away from that purpose to where you were no longer adequate, to where you could no longer function, to where you could no longer carry out your mission that God has put you here for. Or at least for the time being. Even as I give a word of warning, what good does that do? So I'm asking you, the viewer, give me feedback. Tell me what you think of this, because this is something that validates. This gives a valid reason to have a discussion. This gives a valid reason to have a discussion, I believe. So talk to me, leave some comments, something, so we can explore this more thoroughly, because it's something I want to understand. How do we extend grace to these people? How do we keep ourselves from becoming bitter and angry and hostile? All of these things. Think about it. Let me know what you think.